Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the course Programming Language Concept. As you know that in previous lectures we talked about one of the decision control structure. We studied if statement, if else statement. Similarly, we discussed the nested if else statement, if else if ladder, and at the end we discussed switch statement. So in today's lecture, we are going to start a new chapter, and the chapter is about loop control structure. These are the topics that we are going to discuss. The conditional operator. First of all, we will talk about the conditional operator, and then we will talk about the goto statement, and then we will start the new chapter, and that is the loops or looping structure. Before that, we are going to discuss the increment and decrement operator, and then we will talk about the types of loops. For example, for loop, while loop, and do while loop. They are all different types of loops we have in C++. And at the end, we are going to talk about the for loop. We will know the syntax of the for loop. We will also cover the flowchart of the for loop. Now, objectives and outcomes of today's session. The objective of this lecture, or we can say that the objective of this chapter, is to introduce the students to another decision control structure, and that is loops. Remember, in previous lectures, we discussed the conditional control structure. Conditional control structure depends on condition. Some statements are to be ignored and some are to be executed based on a specific condition. So if the condition is true, some statements will be executed. If the condition is false, then the statements will be ignored. And for this, we discussed if statement, then we talked about the if else structure, we discussed the nested if else structure, and we also discussed if else if ladder, and at the end we talked about the switch statement. The outcome of today's session. Okay, what are we going to get after taking this lecture? So after taking this lecture, students should be able to understand and apply conditional operator, the control operator. First of all, before discussing loops, you will understand and apply conditional operator, and we will talk about the conditional operator, and then we are going to talk about the goto statement, and after that analyze an application of loops. We will understand loops, we will learn loops, and then we will apply loops in practical programming. So obviously the outcome is the self-appraisal. As far as the references are concerned, so references obviously detail how to program chapter number 2, Robert Lefort object oriented programming chapter number 3. First of all, as we have discussed, we will talk about the conditional operator before going to the loops. So we would like to put light on conditional operator, that what is conditional operator. So basically, conditional operator is the decision making structure. It's basically what it is, a decision making structure. Keep this thing in your mind. It can be used in place of simple if else structure. Now you have learned the if else structure in previous classes. So you can either use conditional operator or you can use if else structure. Most of the time we use conditional operator in place of the if else structure. It is also called as ternary operator. And why we call ternary operator? There is a very good reason, that basically this conditional operator uses three expressions. We will see that why this conditional operator uses these three operators, three expressions. Then the point is, the conditional operator is used as an alternative of a simple if else statement. So as we have discussed, that you can either use if else structure or you can use a conditional operator instead. The last point says that the conditional operator consists of the question marks and a colon. Now this is the important part of the conditional operator. You have to put question mark as well as you have to put colon in this conditional operator. So now coming to the syntax, how can we write conditional operator? First of all, this might be condition, or simple way we can also call it expression. So this might be expression 1, this is expression 2, and this is expression 3. But here I have used condition, so you can also put condition. Now condition, after condition you need to put this question mark, and after question mark you need to put another expression, and then you need to use colon, and after colon you need to use expression number 2. So basically if this condition, totally these two expression basically depends on this this condition. If the condition is true, if this condition is true, then expression 1 will be evaluated. What if this condition is false? If the condition here it is false, then obviously this condition is false, then obviously the control will transfer to the expression number 2, and expression number 2 will be evaluated. So let's see the example of conditional operator. Now this is a very good example. Suppose we have a variable a, the following statement x. Now this x is basically used here, a greater than 50. This is the condition that we were talking about, a greater than 50, or a may be 50, a may equal to 50. So if this condition is true, then put 1 in x, put 1 in x and display the value of x. But if this condition is false, if this condition is false, suppose the user enters a value which is less than 50, then obviously in that case 0 will be assigned to x and the value of x will be displayed on the screen. Now you can see this expression, the following statement, we are talking about this statement, will assign 1 to x if the condition a greater than 50 is true. It will assign 0 to x. Now if the condition is false, so if this condition is false, 0 will be assigned to x. The above statement can be written using if else statement as follow. Now if a greater than 50, put 1 in x. Otherwise, if this condition is false, then the control will transfer to the else part and x equals 0 will be executed. Let's try to write this in div C++ and see the result. So first of all, as usual, you need to include the header files, #include iostream, and then you are going to use the standard namespace. After this, you need to use the main function. Here, as usual, we're going to declare variables. So we're going to write the program for the same example that we have mentioned in the slide. Now for other examples or for other programs using conditional operator, you can watch the video tutorial that I have uploaded into my YouTube channel. So first of all, we need to declare two variables x and a. Now in the example, first of all, we need to print a message for the user so that user know that what he needs to do. Please enter value in variable a. After this, the cn. Okay, first of all, I'm going to use FL structure. After using FL structure, I'm going to write a program using the conditional operator for better understanding. So we need to put a. Now here, if the value of, there was a condition, if the value of a is greater than and equal to 50, then you need to assign x into a. Then you need to assign 1 into x if this condition is true. Otherwise, if the condition here, this condition is false, then the else part should be executed. Now in the else part, what we are trying to do, we're trying to put 0 here and x. Let me write this x as capital because I have declared the x as capital. So after this, I'm going to display the value of x equal x. So now let's try to understand this program. First of all, I have declared two variables. A simple message will be displayed on the screen for the user, and then user will enter a value. That value will be stored in A. After storing the value in A, we're going to check the condition. If the value which user has entered that is greater than or equal to 50, then this statement should be executed. Put 1 in X. Otherwise, if this condition is false, the control will transfer to X to this statement, and we're going to put 0 in X. So let's try to run this program and watch out the result. Now, first of all, we're going to make this condition true. So for making this condition true, we need to enter a value which is greater than or equal to 50. So 55 is greater than 50. That's why this statement will be executed. And after executing this statement, we will have 1 in X. So after completing this conditional structure, this statement will be executed x equal to x. Whatever value is stored in 1, for example, whatever value is stored in x, for example, 1 is stored here. So that's why 1 will be printed on the screen. Now you can look at the result x equal 1. Why? Because the condition here is true. Let's try to make the condition false and enter or store a value which is less than 50. So this time we are going to input a value which is less than 50. So 40 is less than 40. That's why the condition here is false. Hence, the control will transfer to the else part, and here 0 will be assigned to x, and here in the next statement, the value of x, which is 0, will be displayed on the screen. You can look at the result, 40, that is less than 50. That's why the condition is false, so the control transfer to this part, and that is 0. 0 is displayed on the screen. So now you can write the same program using conditional operator. Now what we are going to do, I'm not going to remove these three statements here because we need them in this program as well. So first of all, as usual, what we need to do is that we need to write the condition if a greater than 50, greater than or equal to 50. This is condition. After the condition, you need to put question mark. After the question mark, you need to write the expression 1. So expression 1 was 1. Okay. And then you need to use, after expression 1, you need to use colon. Remember, do not put semicolon, but rather use colon. So colon is used after this 0, and then you have to use semicolon. So this is condition, this is expression 1, and this is the expression 2. Or in other words, this is expression 1, expression 2, and this is the expression 3. That's why we call it the ternary operator, because it is using 3 expression. So again, let me explain this statement that we have written here. Suppose the value that we enter in A is greater than 50. So this statement will be executed. It means that if a value is greater than 50, it means that the condition is true. That's why 1 will be stored in X. Otherwise, if the value is less than 40, then this expression will be executed. So 0 will be assigned to X. Let's try to write X that's equal to, the value of X will be printed with this statement. Let me write it with upper. Okay. So let's try to run this program. I have used this X as upper letters, because I have declared here the in capital or upper letters. So let's try to run this program and see the result. Watch out for the result. As usual, the program is waiting for us, so we need to enter a value. Okay, the value, let's assume that we enter 50. So according to this condition, this is true. That's why 1 will be assigned to X. So the output will be X equal to 1. Now you can look at the result here, X equal to 1. Why? Because this condition is true. Let us print a value or enter a value which is less than 50. And this time we enter 5 because here the condition is false. That's why this will not be evaluated. The control will move to this part. Okay, 0 will be assigned to X, and then see out X equal 0 will be printed on the screen. You can look at the result X equal to 0. So this is how you write the program using conditional operator. Now coming back again to our lecture, this was the example that we discussed, and I wrote an example this in Dev C++. Fine. So the next thing that we're going to discuss that is goto statement. I hope that you have learned the concept of conditional operator. For the references video, you can watch the 2 video tutorials that I uploaded to a YouTube channel, and there are very good examples. 3 examples are there by using the conditional operator. So goto statement. Now goto statement is another statement that we mostly this is not mostly used in programming. So goto statement. Now the goto statement is used to move the control directly to a particular location of the program by using label, particular location or particular position. But it totally depends on the label that we have created. Now the control will move to the particular position or a specific position by using a label. We will see that what label is and how can we create label. A label is a name given to a particular line or position of the program. Now, what is label? Label is obviously the name given to a particular or a specific position in our program. A label is created with valid identifier followed by colon. So obviously after label we need to put colon, but keep in mind the rules for declaring identifier, because label is also one form of or one sort of identifier. That's why you need to keep the rules of identifier in your mind. This is syntax. Okay, this is how you write or how you use goto statement. Goto label. Now this label can be anything. Okay, any name, but again you need to follow or you need to recall the rules of identifier for creating label. The label indicates the label to which the control transfer. Here this label basically it shows the label to which control transfer, to which position you are going to transfer the control. I'm going to write a simple program, but before writing simple program on goto statement, let's see some issues in goto statement. Now issues using goto statement, use of goto statement is highly discouraged because it makes difficult to trace the control flow of a program. It is highly discouraged because of this reason that it is quite difficult to follow the control flow of a program, how the program is flowing or how the control is passing to each statement, making the program hard to understand and hard to modify. This is obviously, this goto statement makes the program quite difficult to understand and also quite difficult to change. So let's try to write a program and watch out for the result by using goto statement. Let me remove this. So first of all, I'm going to initialize a variable. Okay, and this variable is n with value 1, After this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to declare or I'm going to write the label. This is called label. Fine, because it is ended with a colon. After this, I'm going to use this keyword, this variable, to display the value which is stored in n. Okay. Welcome to a simple message. Welcome to programming class. Welcome to programming class, and then /n. After this, I'm going to use the increment operator. Remember that plus plus here, it will add the value, it will add 1 to the value of n. N is a variable. Okay, each time this is repeated, so a value of 1 will be added to the value of n. Now let me write a condition. If this condition is true, if n is less than or equal to 5, then you need to use this goto statement. Go to where? Go to this position. How can we do this? We need to write the label here. But remember that you need to use semicolon here. So after this, I'm going to write a simple message at the end. Fine, so let us try to understand this program. This is the initialization part. I have initialized a value, a variable with value 1, and this is basically I have created a label. Okay, but you need to keep the rules of identifier in your mind by creating a label, and this is basically colon. So after this, first of all, this statement will be executed. The value of n, which is 1, will be displayed on the screen along with this message, welcome to programming class. After this, the value of n will be incremented by 1. The value of n will be increased by 1. So the previous value of n was 1. Now after adding 1 with 1, the value of n become 2. Here the program is going to check this condition, 2 less than or equal to 5 condition is true. If this condition is true, then you need to go to where? You need to go to repeat. So repeat is this, okay? The control will transfer to repeat, and this statement will be executed one more time. So here the value of n, which is 2, that will be printed along with this message, and then here when this statement is executed, the value of n will be incremented by 1. So previous value of n was 2, now the value will become 3. 3 less than or equal to 5 condition is true. When the condition is true, you need to go to the same label and repeat the statement again and again till this condition is true. Now when this condition can be false, when the value of n becomes 6 with the help of this increment operator, that's why the value of n will be incremented to 6. In that case, 6 is less than or equal to 5 condition is false, so this statement will not be executed. That's why the control will transfer to this statement, and this end will be printed on the screen. So let's try to watch out for the result. And now you can look at the output here. First of all, 1, welcome to programming class. Then 2, welcome to programming class. 3, welcome to programming class. 4, welcome to programming class. So this is how you use goto statement. I hope that you have learned the concept of this goto statement. Now some more operators. Before discussing loops, we need to understand some more operators, and these are basically the increment operator and the decrement operator. So basically, first of all, we are going to look at the increment operator. The increment operator is used to increase the value of a variable by 1. Now, as I told you in previous program using goto statement, that basically the increment operator increases the value of variable by 1. It is denoted by the symbol plus plus. Remember, you need to put 2 plus sign whenever you are using the increment operator. It is known as the unary operator and work with single variable. That's why we call this as unary operator, because unary mean one. Basically, it works with a single variable or with one variable. The increment operator cannot increment the value of constant. You cannot increment the value of constant. For example, in this case, you can see this is invalid C++ statement, 10 plus plus. You need to avoid this thing whenever you are writing program, but these a++ and x++, they are valid statements. So keep these things in your mind that you can do this. You can do the increment operator using variable name, but constant is always avoided. For example, you can look at the example x equal 3, x++. So after this, now the value of x will be 4. Let's try to write a program using increment operator. As usual, first of all, we need to declare variable. Initially, okay, we will initialize the variable x with value 3. After this, we're going to print the value x or value of x before increment, that's equal to x, and then I'm going to use end line. After this, I'm going to increment x. So you can see plus plus is used here, x plus plus. After this, I'm going to use the increment, the statement again, the cout statement again, value of x after increment operator. Let me write operator here as well. This is operator. Fine. So after this, I'm going to print the value of x. Now just focus on the output of the program. You can look at the output here. I have initialized the variable x with a value 3. And now with this statement, you can look at the statement value of x before increment operator, that is 3. Now because here I have used x, so in x I have stored 3. That's why 3 is displayed on the screen. After this, I have used increment operator, so value will be added. 1 will be added to the value of x. In previous value of x was 3. Now the value of x becomes 4 because 1 is added with the help of increment operator. That's why in the second line you can see value of x after increment operator that's equal to 4. So this is how you basically use increment operator. Now coming back to our slides, let us discuss the decrement operator. Again, the decrement, basically we need to write here the decrement operator. It is basically used to decrease or decrement the value of a variable by 1. This is the opposite of increment operator. If increment operator increments a value by 1, then decrement operator decreases or it decrement value by 1. It is denoted by minus minus symbol. It is known as the unary operator and work with single variable. Again, this also work with single variable. That's why we call it unary operator. The decrement operator cannot decrement the value of constant. For example, 10 minus minus is invalid statement, while you can use decrement operator with variables like a minus minus and x minus minus. These are basically valid statement. For example, x that's equal to 3, x minus minus. Now the value of x will be 2. Let's try to run the program for this as well. Now assume that we have used here, we have initialized the value of x to 3. value of x before, we are going to write here decrement operator. Value of x before using decrement operator. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this and replace this with minus minus. See out value of x after decrement operator, and then you can look at the program here. Initially the value of x is 3, so after using minus minus the value of x will be 2. Now let's try to run the program and watch out for the result. You can look at the result here. Now this line, the first line says value of x before using decrement operator. Value of x before using decrement operator, that is 3. There is no issue, but after this statement I have used a decrement operator. You can look at the decrement operator, value of x after decrement operator, that is equal to x, and that is 2, because here I have used the decrement operator. So decrement operator has decremented or decrease 1 from the value of x. I hope that you have learned both the increment and decrement operator. So there is a simple program. Let me explain this program here. Initially the value of x is equal to 5. The value of x before incrementation, 5 will be printed, and here x plus plus. So the value will be incremented by 1, value will become 6, the value of x after incrementation, 6 will be printed, integer y, that's equal to 7. Here another variable is used for decrement operator. Now you can look at this message here, the value of y before decrementation is y, and then y minus minus, this is decrement operator. Decrement operator is used. That's why the value of y after decrementation is what? This will become 6. So this is how the increment and decrement operator works. I hope that you have grasped the concept of increment and decrement operator. Now moving forward, we will talk about the looping structure. So in looping structure, first of all, we will understand that what is this loop. If you remember, so far we have discussed the sequential structure. We have also discussed the conditional structure. In sequential structure, all the statements were to be executed one by one. And then after that, we used the conditional structure, like we have used if statement, if else statement. They are called as conditional structure. In conditional structure, it basically depends on the condition. If the condition is true, some statements will be ignored and some will be executed, but it totally depends on the condition. Here in looping, what we normally do is that if we want to repeat something for a specified number of time, then we use looping structure. So look at the points here. A type of control structure. This is also a type of control structure, just like the sequential control structure, where all the statements are executed one by one, or conditional structure, okay, where statements are executed based on condition. So this is basically also a type of control structure that repeats a statement or set of statement, is known as looping structure. So it repeats some statement or set of statements, and that's why we call it as looping structure. It is also known as iterative or repetitive structure, because statements are executed in repetitive as well as in iterative mode. Now we have covered these things. In sequential structure, all statements are executed once. All the statements that you have written will be executed one by one. But on the other hand, the second structure, the second control structure that we discussed was conditional structure. A conditional structure may execute or skip a statement on the basis of some given condition. If the condition is true, the statement following condition will be executed. If the condition is false, then the else part will be executed. we have already covered this point. In some situation, it is required to repeat a statement or number of statements for a specified number of times. For a specified number of times, for exact number of times. For example, you want to execute some statements. For example, it may be your name 100 times, or you want to print your name 100 times or 200 times on the screen. So for this, it is quite difficult to write 100 separate cout statement. Now, this loop can make your life easier by writing just one statement, and rest of the things will be done by loop itself. So looping structure are used for this purpose, for the same purpose, where we want to repeat some statement or number of statements for a specified number of times. Now, these are the purpose of the loops, why we are using loops: to execute a statement or number of statements for a specified number of times. For example, a user may display his name on screen for 10 times, or to use a sequence of values. For example, a user may display a set of natural number from 1 to 10. We will have different, and we will have many examples. I'm going to write many programs using this loop structure or the looping structure, and you would understand these points then once you write some programs on the looping structure. Okay, there are some types of loops. Okay, there are 3 types of loops in C++. Number 1, for loop. Then we will discuss while loop and do while loop. In this session, we are going to talk about the while loop, and in the remaining session, we are going to talk about the while loop, and also we will talk about the do while loop. So, first of all, we will talk about the for loop. Now, for loop executes one or more statements for a specified number of times, for exact number of times. Now, it is that type of loop which we use when we know in advance that how many times the body of the loop will be executed. For example, I'm giving you a simple solution, a simple problem that you need to find a solution to write your name, or to write I love Afghanistan 10 times. 10 times. Now, what you will do, you will simply write the cout statement 10 times. But then you would come with solution, and then I would give you another task, and to write Afghanistan for 100 or 200 or even 300 or even 4 or 500, okay, or 1000. Let's be specific, 1000. So now it's very difficult that you would sit and you would try to write this I love Afghanistan using cout 100 times or 1000 times. Then obviously it's going to take a lot of time, so it's a time consuming method. Now the best and the simple solution is to use loop, and that is, for example, either you use for loop or while loop or do while loop. And obviously it is the most flexible form of loop. This is also called counter controlled loop. This is mostly used by the programmers. This is the general syntax. Keep this syntax in your mind. For here is keyword. The first point here is that you need to initialize a variable. That variable is also called as counter variable. So you need to initialize the counter variable, then you need to put condition, and then you need to use increment or decrement operator, and after this you need to use the statement itself, any statement that you want to for example write in your program. Now this is the syntax for more than one statement. If you want to execute more than one statement, then you have to enclose, or you have to use the pair of brackets, the opening bracket and the closing bracket. For example, statement 1, statement 2, and statement n. Let us discuss the flowchart, and after this I'm going to write a simple program using for loop. Now this is the flowchart of a for loop. We start from here. First of all, the initialization is done. After initialization, the control transfer to the condition. If the condition is true, body of the loop will be executed, and after this, the control will transfer to the increment part. Again, once the counter variable is incremented, the control will again come to check the condition. If the condition is still true, body will be executed one more time. So this process will be repeated until this condition becomes false. When the condition becomes false, the program will be stopped and you will have a result on the screen. So let's try to run a simple or to use a simple program or write a simple program. In teacher I have declared a variable I. So here or you can directly um, uh, declare and initialize the variable inside for loop, but let us declare it outside for better programming practice. Let us declare it outside the for loop. Now here I'm going to start from 1, I that's equal to 1, I less than. This is the initialization part. This is the initialization part. Now this is the condition part, I less than or equal to 10, and I plus plus. This is the increment part. So the simple message, as I told you, let's try to print a message. I love Afghanistan. So, and then /n should be used here. Now let's try to, the program is obviously done. The program is completed. Now, first of all, let us try to write the same program using the traditional way. For example, the task is that I want to tell you that you need to print Afghanistan for 10 times. What you normally do, you simply write 10 statements, 3 and 5. Let me copy these 5 statements and I need to write here. So I love Afghanistan for 10 times. Let me also write here, manually write here 1, 2, this would be 3, this would be 5, 6, this is 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now obviously it becomes quite time consuming. If you look out the result or watch the result out, you can look at the the screen or the output. Okay, these are 1, 2, 3, 10, and I love Afghanistan. So I love Afghanistan is printed 10 times. Now what is the solution? If you have done with this task, okay, then I'm telling you that you need to print I love Afghanistan for 1000 times, or let's suppose 5000. Now it's quite time consuming to write 5000 separate cout statement. So the best solution is to use loop. Now in this case, let me write loop here. Let me declare variable first and let me initialize the variable. Okay, I have assign a value to variable I, that is 1. I should be less than or equal to 10, and after this I plus plus. After this I'm going to print a simple message, I love Afghanistan. Now 10 times I love Afghanistan will be printed on the screen, and that's it. So let's try to run this program and watch out the result. You can look at the statements here or the output here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these are basically the 10 statements. 10 statements is basically printed on the screen. So this is the power of the loop. That's why we say that it makes our life easier. Loop makes our programming life easier. Now if you want to print the value from 1 to 10, you can also print it this way. For example, let us remove here, let us remove all these statements, and I need to print only the value from 1 to 10 and the end line. Let's try to run this program. Now you can look at the result here, 1 to 10. Now let's see how this program works. First of all, I have declared variable I, okay, and then I have initialized the value of I with 1. I've assigned a value of 1 to I. In the condition part, this is the second part. 1 less than or equal to 10. Condition is obviously true because 1 is less than 10. That's why the control will transfer to this part. 1 will be printed and then end line. After this, the control will transfer to I++, where the value of 1 will be incremented to 1. Incremented to 2 because 1 will be added to the value of I. With the previous value of I was 1. Now after adding 1 to 1, then it becomes 2. Now again condition is checked. 2 less than or equal to 10 condition is still true because 2 is less than 10. That's why this statement is executed. After this, the control transfer to the increment part. Again, the value of I will be incremented to 3 because 1 will be added to the previous value of I. The previous value of I was 2. Now the new value of I will become 3. That's why this condition, it will check the condition again. 3 less than or equal to 10 condition is true, so this time 3 will be printed on the screen. After this end line, the control will transfer to the increment part. The value of I will be incremented to 4. 4 less than 10, that's why condition is still true. So if the condition is true, this statement will be executed. Cout 4 will be printed on the screen. And after this end line, the control will transfer to I++, where the value of I will become 5. 5 less than or equal to 10. After this, 5 will be printed. And after end line, again the control will transfer to this I++. This way, the program works. When the value of I becomes 11, this condition will be false and the control will transfer to the point. If there are any statements after this statement, that statement will be executed. Otherwise, the program will be terminated and you will look your result on the screen. So this is how these loops works. Now you can change this to even 2000. Now, and after this, you need to look at the statement itself. This is the output. The output, this is the upper limit and this is the lower limit. You can see the value is started from 1 and it goes till 1000. So you can also modify this program according to your problem. So this is how this